You're listening to Gone Mobile, your input and output for all things .NET MAUI and mobile.
Hello there, everyone. Welcome back to another Gone Mobile. Actually, this one, I think this one you'll be hearing on Monday. No, yeah, you will be hearing on Monday, but even the one before. So we're switching our episode release day cadence because who wants to work on a Friday that hard?
I had suggested that. Plus, like, if you're going on, like, in Toronto, sometimes I take the train. Monday morning is where I want to hear the funny stuff because it's Monday morning on a train.
Aren't you supposed to say Toronto?
What did I say?
I forget. There's. They always say that there's like a Torontonians pronounce Toronto a specific way, and I always forget if it's the Toronto or Toronto.
I don't even hear the difference.
It's the T, the second, the hard versus soft.
I think I say Toronto. Toronto.
It would be the American pronunciation.
Yeah, the American.
That's how David would pronounce it. I think we should see how he does it.
Yeah, well, he totally makes fun of Canadians all the time and our lack of humor. He did it in the .NET stand-up recently.
I mean, he's St. Louis area, right? So he's almost right. Canadian.
Yeah. Well, frankly, he wears more plaid than I have. In fact, I've never had plaid. He looks more like a lumberjack than we ever will.
I was just with David in person. Is it a week ago already now? Last week, I think. And I can confirm all he wore is plaid the whole time.
He secretly wants to be Canadian. That's why all of his jokes are there.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
That's right. That's what I'm saying. He's St. Louis. It's almost there.
Fair. So we are going to win the Stanley Cup. Hopefully. Come on, yes. Edmonton, do it. Is that bad Canadian humor or is that, good Canadian hope?
That's good Canadian hope. They have to.
I'll take it.
It's been a while. Yeah, I don't think is that Edmonton or just a Leaf team or not a Leaf team?
Canadian team.
Leaf team would be a lot longer.
A lot longer. It's like, I don't know, what was the last time they won? 67.
Something like that.
Before we were born, man.
Yeah, long before. I mean, maybe not that far, before David was born, but us for sure. Sorry.
There we go.
Sorry.
Well, he is a grandpa.
Yeah.
He's a grandpa.
So what are we talking about today other than Canadian jokes that probably nobody gets that we're talking about?
That's fair. Well, other than you seem to have your good coffee, which we'll get into later.
Yeah, sure.
Trying to get me to get good coffee.
It is kind of like on theme. Did you have a section for that kind of stuff?
Well, today we're talking about the tools we use for development. Coffee could technically be part of that.
I'm adding a section now to the notes called soft tools, or not soft tools.
Indirect tools?
Yeah.
Unfocused tools.
Unfocused tools.
We're using focus for everything because I've tried to get them to rename slim bindings to focus bindings. How's that going? Is it going?
I think we're going to call them something slightly different. We were coming up with a few different names. It doesn't sound as good when you start using it and thinking about it. So I think we landed on something like, I have to remember. It's like platform or native something. Yeah, you'll see.
All right,
coming soon.
I'll see. What do I want to? How come you're holding me out in the dark?
Well, I don't remember it, and I can't find it that quickly. So
all right, fine. So what's the tools we use in development? This was like a good opinionated show, right?
Yeah.
To say the stuff that we, like Frank's Red Hot. What do I put this stuff on everything?
Yeah.
Starting with tools. We're going to get into a little bit of libraries, maybe. Even though we've kind of covered that. I can feel like we've been through a lot of libraries, but
yeah, there's maybe some that are worth like mentioning if they're
the stuff that you start a net new project, you're going to put this stuff in.
Does the shiny template have a select all option on? Because you've got your thing with like all the checkboxes. I'm just imagining you go file new, select all.
Well, I tend to do a lot of POCs for like customers and stuff, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I have to do these, and like companies I work for, if I'm doing architecture, you need to mass go through them. But yeah, there's like, I don't know, 60 some odd checkboxes now. I want to know if I've got the biggest template in .NET. I wonder if they're tracking that. Love to know.
You might. I mean, if all the options are picked, I think that's a
Well, in
likely
terms of
case.
just the .NET new template and the IDE, I want to know if I've really pushed it to like the biggest standard.
Yeah,
I don't
I
know.
don't know.
Somebody's got to collect that. You guys collect everything.
There's
Visual Studio
probably
just
something
goes
on that.
insane for shipping half of my computer over in terms of telemetry. So
Yeah, well, hey, make
speaking
some
of which,
smart decisions. Yeah, okay. Ooh,
that's a good one to start with. What's the
is
most
it?
obvious tools we use is Visual Studio, the
Yeah.
telemetry collector for
Okay.
you guys.
Yeah. So Visual Studio. Now you are more Mac first these days, right? When in terms of where you dev.
Yes, I am. That is your fault, actually. To be honest, I mean, I've always been on Mac back and forth because you
Yeah.
need the iOS stuff. But what was it, a couple of years ago? John and I tend to pester each other for getting stuff. John's just a lot more hard headed than I am about it.
Mm-hmm.
But he said you need to get one of these M's, and I was like, oh, and I got one.
And you're like, okay.
Well, I mean, this thing boots Windows faster than my big, what I call the reactor beside me, which got 128 gigs of RAM and an i9.
Yeah.
And
No, Apple
NVIDIA.
Silicon stuff has been silly good.
Oh, it's ridiculous.
And like the battery life on like that was the big thing for me when I bought
Yep.
the MacBook Air with the first Apple Silicon in it. I bought that back in the day, and like the battery life, it's just like, oh, I can sit on the couch and work for hours and not
it's crazy.
worry about being plugged in. What?
And it won't melt your
Right.
hair off your legs.
Or
If you're sitting there in
Yeah,
shorts.
exactly.
Yeah, it's fantastic. I go to the beach with it because I tend to get out so I can do some work and
Mhm.
not be crazy. It's awesome. It's
And I have
absolutely awesome.
what are you sporting now? What kind? Like I forget which version I even have anymore because I got rid of the Air and I bought something newer.
I have the M2 Pro.
Okay.
So I didn't go Max because that's like next level insane. And I remember Apple saying, yeah, they're going to be cheaper than the Intel ones. Okay.
Yeah, no.
Yeah, right, guys. All right.
Apple stuff is never in the same sentence as cheap. Like,
well, neither is Microsoft. Did you see those new Copilot things?
Yeah.
They're ridiculous. What do you dude? It's software. What are you charging?
I mean, they're all ARM, right?
Yeah.
So like those might.
Ones.
I haven't used one. Like I have a Windows ARM, like the little Windows Mac Mini,
Yeah.
that they had the dev boxes. It's pretty good. It's not like I wouldn't say it's like M2 Pro good, but it's like M1 good.
Is that that's not your daily driver though?
No,
it's your wood paneling box.
Yeah,
right?
yeah. No,
Okay.
my beast of a machine with the fancy retro wood case is my daily driver. But it's like the newer AMD, although I think they're another generation now too.
Well,
Or coming.
Yearly,
I don't know.
Pretty much everybody's like buy new shit every year.
Yeah.
Right?
And I I had an AMD before this as well, and I upgraded last year, last year.
I think it's last year. Yeah, because there was a big debate about hardware and.
Now I got the processor on a really good deal when I got it. I think I even paid less because you were looking at the same one, and I think the price you had listed is slightly higher than I actually paid for it when I did, like by $100.
That's why I'm sitting on it waiting.
It's what the Ryzen 9 7950X3D, and the thing is fast.
If I really wanted to douse money though, it's just a Threadripper. I've heard people say that they're insane.
Yes, those are insane, but the cost is also insane. I only have 64 gigs of RAM in it right now. I mean, that's plenty. I only have half of it in use. So,
well, and all for Windows right now, and maybe if you've got Teams running, then there's the rest of it.
Yeah, probably.
So, what about that? That's good hardware.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, I'm on a Mac, so I tend to be. Well, I was obviously Visual Studio for Mac.
Right.
It got a lot better in 2022. Not perfect, far from perfect. So I ended up having to go to Rider, and I like Rider. I actually love Rider now. It's got some fantastic little experience tooling things.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's my daily driver right now. I am working with VS Code because the new debugging's quite that you guys have released is quite nice.
Yeah, VS Code has come a long way since the first preview, right? Because it's GA now. So there's the new that was one thing that I really wanted to push for, and I'm glad that to see it happen was to go like unify debuggers and stop using. We always use this like mono soft debugger, which the runtime still kind of has that protocol, but the sort of IDE side of it was like this C# implementation to talk to it over the wire and everything, and it was great for what it did. I mean, amazing that it worked as it did for all the years, but there was a lot to be gained for trying to like um bring some consistency and consolidate into the debugger that's already there. And so they ended up writing like the whole client protocol side of it, I think existed already in like C, and that's all like bundled into the iCore debug stuff now, and it knows how to talk to the .NET mono runtime apps. And so it's there, I think there's like new features and stuff that lights up too. Like there was a whole, I remember seeing a matrix of like, oh, here's stuff that it doesn't do today, and then like if we integrate it, it's all going to work together. So really nice upgrade there, and that has kind of also allowed them to build on, how are we going to do all the hot reloads and stuff, which are kind of there in a preview form anyway in the extension now. So that was the thing that was missing for me, right? Was the XAML hot reload, especially from VS Code.
It works really well. The hot reload, the debugging is super fast.
Mm-hmm.
I think my hang up still, it has nothing to do with that experience anymore. It has to do with just the fact that the VS Code C# dev kit is a bit behind. That's not you guys, right? That's just...
No, it's underneath. I mean,
like,
and that keeps getting worked on too. So hopefully we, keep seeing improvements there.
Like there's some toys you can get out there like NuGet, and I think the reason I like Rider is it's got the multi-debug. Have you ever tried that? You can actually launch like boom, boom. And so I can start my in VS, we have to pick the projects you want to start.
Yeah.
In Rider, you can just go start this one. Now start this one. Now start this one. So you can actually have Android and iOS running and working side by side, right? Which is pretty damn cool. You can bring your IDE up, or sorry, your API up. See that running in the CLI. It's fantastic. It's funny because we've been asking for that in VS for years, just from a C# perspective, and it just doesn't seem to be happening. I get it's a big dinosaur to move, but
yeah, I know there's been like I don't know where the status of it is at this point, but I know that was a topic that was discussed a fair bit. When I was at least in the same room as conversations around the debugger stuff with Mono, and how like DevKit's going to do like that kind of experience, because what they really tried to do is not like dive in too deep with all of the extension stuff, right? And not like make decisions that are hard to undo later if we find out like, oh, we shouldn't really have done it this way because it doesn't align to how like VS Code really is doing things, and like the user interface kind of guidelines and everything, right? So there was a lot of effort to make sure that we didn't like rush into a bad decision. And so, but I know that those things are being talked about, and hopefully like that continues to incrementally improve and gets better.
It will. It's already made leaps and bounds. So it just, they've neglected .NET for so long in VS Code, like Microsoft in general.
Yeah, no, I agree. I love to see it happening, because like that, and that's where like a lot of new developers are, and maybe non.NET developers too, right? Like if you see, I know like one of the other angles of it always was in education and stuff, where like I worked in the school board for a bunch of years, and one of the things that was kind of obvious to me is, oh, if you want somebody to like use .NET, you're not gonna like if a teacher wants Visual Studio installed, they got to go talk to the IT department and say like, I want this on my image. The IT department is going to be like, excuse me, you want me to stick like another 15 gigs or whatever on your image, on this image? No. For one class? No. But if they're to say like, hey, we want this VS Code extension. Oh, well, we already have VS Code on the image. Sure. Like it's one more little thing to add on. It's kind of shared, among other classes and that kind of stuff. So that's how a lot of those decisions get made. And so if you want to be there, you have to kind of play in the right spot.
We also don't worry about 15 gigs anymore. You just aged yourself there.
No, well, no, but even on some of these things, they still kind of do, right? Because they do. Speed is time, and it's not about the cost of storage as much as like, well, when we have to reimage 100 machines, like another 15 gigs takes more time.
Super fast networks, they don't care as much.
But not fast storage of getting the image on the thing.
Fair enough. Fair enough.
Anyway,
So you are primarily a Windows driver then,
yes.
correct?
Yeah.
Why?
Uh,
Is it just because your computer is such a mammoth beast of a gaming
that's
machine
where
now?
it started.
Okay.
But I do also have sitting on my desk a Mac Mini with an M2 Pro in it. So that thing is great. And I actually have it now so I can toggle between the two. In talking about tooling, so this was a fun one. You know, I think you and I talked about a whole bunch of different KVMs, right? So like that's if I want to go between two worlds, like I want to use the same monitor, I want to switch around. A lot of monitors have them built in now, including the one that I have today. But it always bothered me that I had to like press buttons on the monitor to switch it. And, you know, and yeah, the USB stuff goes back and forth, but then you have to have like a really nice USB hub so that all like I want my microphone, I want my camera, I want everything plugged in to switch when I switch, right? And that's like one upstream port on the monitor that you can use if you're using that KVM. So actually, what's the utility called? I'll have to find the name of it, but it's like there's like a monitor protocol over HDMI that you can send commands to from software.
Okay.
And so I actually used some of these utilities to write like a Stream Deck, script action that when I wanted to switch inputs, now it just runs this thing, and then I press the button on Stream Deck, and it switches over to my other computer, and it just works great.
Oh wow!
So that's a good one.
Well, you have you don't run them side by side?
No, I like to go more back and forth than side by side.
So you want to tell them what monitor you have?
Yeah, it's the I just filled a thing out for some expense thing too. A G, what is it? The G9, the Neo G9, 57-inch.
So yours is considered 4th gen. Okay. I was stupid enough to buy the 1st gen of that sucker, and it was 49 widescreen, heavy as dirt. I had to keep the box because, well, you do too, right?
The box is like a coffin. It's so,
well, it has to be, man. How do you move
it's
that
so
thing?
Big?
And what, like, it's not like when we move TVs, right?
Yeah.
If you don't have the box, you like just put it in a blanket and you put it down, right?
Yeah. This
one you don't put down unless you hate the monitor,
right?
And I've heard they've got bendy monitors now that you can flex the tilt on it, but I don't know, that'd be weird.
No, this thing is absolutely massive. It spans almost the width of my entire desktop, which is like it's like 60-inch, I think, a 5-foot desk.
Mm-hmm.
It's glorious. And my stipulation was like, I didn't want, so my last monitor setup, I had multiple, but one of them was a Dell 40-inch wide, ultra wide. And then I had a 4K monitor beside it. So the Dell 40-inch was high DPI as well. Cause I've been accustomed enough after using MacBooks and stuff that I need high DPI. Like my eyes,
clear screen.
Yeah,
you want a clear screen. I get it.
So that's what I was waiting for in this thing. So when this came out and it's like 57 inches and it's high DPI, it's basically the same as 4K. Slapping two 4K monitors together.
Yep, it's just not OLED, right? That's the only.
That's not OLED, but I mean,
that's the last thing I'm looking for. I'm gonna wait for the 5th gen.
Yeah.
And then I might go back because I just want it to be OLED because it's a beautiful screen.
Yeah. I mean, yes, OLED would make it that much more beautiful, but I'm working on it. So it's not like, doesn't matter.
There was another purchase that I convinced John to about a year ago, 2 years ago now.
Oh, the LG.
The LG C1 or C2. You ended up getting the generation after me.
Yeah, I've got the C2 because there's a C3 or maybe even C4 out now, right?
Yeah, so the clarity on those.
Oh, it's beautiful.
Is this stuff.
Beautiful.
But I digress. We went off topic with that.
Yeah, well.
So what other tools are your tricks of your trade? I used to be an Android lover, so I know Android Studio is in there.
Yeah, that one's there
from
still.
That insanity.
I don't use it a lot, but sometimes even to mess with emulators and stuff. Like, yeah, there's the thing inside of Visual Studio.
Mm-hmm.
But like on Mac, okay, like, well, that's not there.
We don't have one now.
Yeah. So sometimes I use that for those kind of things. Some virtualization. I actually have been using DevBox a lot more. I mean, we have access to DevBoxes, so it's kind of, I'll just fire one up and, create my isolated environment of, I want to try this preview of .NET 9 or something, and I don't want to screw up my machine by chance. So it's like kind of like a VM, but I don't have to spin it up on my own hardware.
Okay.
So that's kind of cool. other than that, like I there's a couple that I find for my personal stuff. I've been using Insomnia for years. It's like it's just like a GUI around like cron basically. It just is a nice little tool for like building web requests and like setting different headers and everything and seeing what they return. So for like my pool app, I've used that a bunch to kind of like diagnose little weird things here and
It's
there
like
that I just
Postman.
yeah, exactly.
Okay. Yeah, if you want one, there's a cool Visual Studio plugin for HTTP requests. It's a little
Okay.
bit more scripted. But the thing that most people hate about Postman, and myself included, is that you got to go through like, go to this tab, now go to this tab. Oh, if you want scripting, it's over here. And you're like, oh my God, where did this thing go?
Yeah.
So this VS Code, which Microsoft is borrowing as a Visual Studio plugin now, it started to emerge over there, but this plugin in VS Code still is the top notch. Like the stuff you can do in it just is beautiful.
Okay. I'll have to check that out too. But I mean, like the thing I kind of liked about Insomnia is it can like sync to a GitHub repo your kind
Okay.
of requests and stuff. So I often am trying to use the same types of ones for diagnosing things in my app, and it's just like, oh, I'll open it up and there it is.
Well, so this extension I'm talking about, you can create just like Visual Studio. Have you seen how Visual Studio does a web API now? They dump in an HTTP file.
Oh yeah.
So you can commit that, right? And it'll the nice thing about Visual Studio is it generates it based on a bunch of things, which is kind of cool. But it's still weak in the scripting department in terms of like store parts of the request, right? So if you've got like get me a list and then get me the first list item and get the ID off of that, store it as a parameter, and then send it in the next request.
Okay.
That's pretty jiggy.
That sounds more kind of like for developing like
Yes.
code. Yeah, which is a cool use case too that I had never thought of. So I'll have to check that out. Yeah, this is I've just been using more for like, why is the app failing on this thing? Like, can I isolate the endpoint being the problem or not, for example, in cases.
Okay.
So there's that. And then one I haven't really been using, but it's really cool and I have to remember to try and use it. Have you ever used DevToys?
Yeah, I've started to I noticed they released a new update.
Yeah.
2.0. It is very broken. I think it's built partially on Maui, partially on
it's Maui Blazor, basically.
Yeah, it's telling me that it's a bad update when I brew it.
Antivirus giving you a problem or something like that?
No, who uses antivirus? Come on, man. I'm on a Mac.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, you're on Windows and you've got corporate policies.
I was gonna say even the Mac, if I want to access anything, has got Defender on it because
Well, Brew doesn't like it. I tried downloading it too, and it's also angry about it. So I think they've just had like a bad build or something. I don't know. But I do use it on Windows. I have used DevToys on Windows, but I'm on version 1.
Yeah. So they have it all working on Maui. One of the cool things is the author of it basically forked. I don't know where he forked from, but he has Maui working like a Blazor hybrid web view in Maui working on Linux too, so you can actually install it there.
It sounds pretty cool.
Yeah,
I've read about it, and there was a big. I think they were on one of the community stand-ups, weren't they? Talking about it.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
So that it looks cool. I definitely love to use it. On Mac.
Yeah, and so it does like a bunch of like random things, right? Like if you want to like base 64 encode or decode strings, or I don't know. There's all sorts of just little, or like test an XPath, query or something, like just stuff that I usually end up Googling and finding some janky online, form for. But it's like this is just all in one place, so kind of nice to have.
I do have one on the Mac, so I buy a subscription. This is something I tried to get you, but you don't use Mac enough, so it doesn't matter for you, right? But remember I was talking about that Setapp. Is it called Setapp? Setapp. I've got the damn thing up and it doesn't have a title bar. Setapp, yes.
Okay.
And what it is like a subscription, a yearly subscription you buy.
Mm-hmm.
And it has like a bajillion tools in it.
Oh yeah, it's like a
dev stuff,
pack of apps. Yeah.
Yeah. So they've got some. I basically got it because I use a file browser called Forklift, which is just Total Commander for Mac.
Mm-hmm.
it has it has like a DevToys version. It's called Offline Development Toolkit. The icon is strangely a lot like DevKit, so the feature set is strangely like DevKit. So that's what I use on the Mac side. Is it as good? I actually don't know. I've never actually compared the two, but it's there. So if you have the Setapp, it's something worth looking at, because Setapp has like a bunch of stuff, like just a whack of tools to get on Mac. I think I paid what, $100 a year. Okay. That's not bad.
Yeah,
it's worth it for Forklift and some of the other apps that I use off of it.
Yeah, no, Forklift's one that I have used in the past too.
Well, let's face it. If you're on Windows, what are you using for Windows file management?
Like remote file management?
No,
like
just general file manager.
Windows Explorer.
Oh, really? Really?
I mean, like, what do I all do in there? Not that much.
Well, so I'm a bit of a hardcore. This might age me a bit, but I still, to date, I've been using it for years. A friend of mine at an old company got me into Total Commander, which is built on what's the ancient language? Fox Pro.
Oh, is it really?
No, Delphi.
Oh, okay. That's better. Not
and
great, better.
Well, people like Fox Pro, man. Anyhow, this thing, the author keeps adding on to it. I still use it diehard.
To February 21st of this year, there is an update.
Yeah,
and the website looks like it's from the 90s still.
Oh yeah, but it's still, in my opinion, it is still the best to date file manager you could have.
Does it look horrible? Because I can't use it if it looks horrible.
No, it's not bad.
Yeah, it does.
No. You have to. The default one, like, it'll give you the Delphi look, but if you configure it, I think they might be doing it out of the box now, to be honest, but I have like a set of settings that makes it look modern, not like Windows Explorer modern. Maybe if Windows Explorer focused more on the features than making it look good.
When's the last time you like, what features? What's
the dual pane? Dual pane. Dual pane with the dual trees, and then
I've never been a dual pane person.
Man. See, I'm moving stuff around constantly, right? And back in my server days, I was moving stuff around constantly too.
I'm just an animal and use two windows and put them beside each other when I need to.
Well, why use Forklift then? Forklift is exactly what I'm talking about.
I mean, I used it for like SFTP and like remote systems more so.
You're a caveman sometimes.
Yeah.
I'll take my caveman coffee. You can get taken on some of the tooling. Some of it.
All right. This one's not going anywhere agreeable.
That's fine. John and I agree to disagree on things. So this is it. Honestly, though, Total Commander is the stuff, but it's not for everybody. I get it. It's got to look pretty otherwise.
Yeah.
I'll have to show you mine.
I was just complaining about that to my wife the other day too, because our grocery store got new self-checkout things, and I'm like, they have this beautiful new like vertical screen on it, nice big tablet-y interface, and the software is just the worst looking thing I've ever used. And I'm like, they just need to make it nice. And she's like, well, what does it matter? I'm like, because I don't want to use things that don't look nice. Like, why not make it look nice? Like, if it's gonna be there, make it good as well.
Dude, the robots are taking over. Just get in line.
And just the worst buttons, and then the whole like flow of it is just horrible. You have to answer 30 questions before you can check out.
Yeah,
did you use any bags? Do you want to donate to our charity that we probably don't really actually run like a charity? No, just let me pay.
Okay, fine. I do the same thing. I just wish it would shut up and let me scan the shit. Let me check it out and shut up. Just shut up. And also, if you could make the credit card processing a little bit faster.
Right.
Do you find that like you press OK, pay now?
Yeah. And then it
takes forever to get the debit thing going. And you're like, come on, man. This is like,
yes,
we're past this, right?
Yes.
Okay. So there we are. All right. Okay. So what, you don't do a lot of, well, you do. I know you use Docker a lot.
I mean, not a lot, but
ish. You use it for hosting certain tools, right? But from a dev perspective, do you use it?
Not really. I used it the other day finally to figure out how to publish my own Docker file thing so I could run it on my Synology nicely, like a .NET
Okay.
setup.
Oh, are you talking about like a Docker Compose thing?
Yeah, it wasn't even Compose. It was just like, I had a console app I wanted to run, and that
Okay.
was like doing something with my pool Meadow stuff.
Okay. All right. Well,
But
see, I use Docker for a lot of things now. You know, there's a couple big apps I work on, so it's nice to be able to just, you know, Docker Compose, string out an environment, boom, you're
you
going.
gotta aspire those.
I'm not there yet.
Yeah,
I'm not there yet.
you will be.
That's what they keep saying, you know, but it doesn't really solve that issue completely for me. And it doesn't really solve a deployment issue for me yet. I don't know. I am on board the .NET Orleans train, but we'll get to that. I
Ooh.
mean, am I jumping ahead?
Yeah,
I'm jumping
maybe a
ahead. We're
bit.
still in tools.
Yeah.
Tools. You come to the libraries. So I am hardcore Docker. Kubernetes if I have to go hardcore, but I don't personally know a ton of Kubernetes or Kates if we want to be cool.
Yeah.
I've done the basic stuff with it, but I usually hand that over to your IT dev SecOps dudes and here guys, this is how you need to distribute stuff. Your problem. Now here you go.
Mhm.
Here's all the environment variables that are needed for each one of these containers. Now leave me alone. And you scale it. If you have to deal with anything that's bad in my code, let me know and we'll deal with it. Now, I will say though, maybe because you are on the full Cosmos DB train, which I know customers that are. I don't know about the cost or anything, but I do know the one thing that's a pain in the arse is that there's no offline dev experience. So
there
I have
used
to
to
pay.
be a emulator.
Well, it's a pain to set up, and it's Windows only, right?
Oh, okay, maybe. Yeah, I don't know
if it's still in existence. But like, guys, let's roll this as a container already.
Yeah,
I think it just came for the blob storage stuff. I think it's coming for Service Bus.
Okay.
Which is nice. Like you have to have a local dev experience, especially for like people that want to learn it. They don't want to pay.
There is one now.
No.
Look, there's
Azure
as of yesterday, the article.
No way.
Yeah.
What? No, seriously.
Cosmos DB emulator. And then it says something about Docker somewhere.
Okay. Yeah, but
Anyway.
What's the setup steps involved? Is it like 14 pages long?
No. I mean, I'm doing this on the fly here, so I'm not.
Okay, well, the pressure's on, man.
It says something about. I think it works on. It doesn't. So it doesn't work on ARM, Apple yet.
All right, I can understand though. I can live with that.
Yeah,
but does it run in pure Docker, or do I have to enable the world to get that stupid thing to run?
Yeah, I don't know. I can't tell you that yet.
But what about?
I googled like Docker and the Cosmos emulator, and it like looked like on the listing. It was like, yeah, run this in Docker.
Okay,
So,
all right. I know Azure Functions is kind of there too, so it just that offline dev experience really needs to be there.
Yeah,
it has to.
That's fair.
So I use that stuff. I use RabbitMQ like it's going out of style, but then again, doesn't everybody?
Yeah.
You know, actually I'm hardcore PostgreSQL these days personally, but and that's a
Sounds
Docker
like
thing.
A lot of self-inflicted pain, but yeah, cool.
No,
it's been. I mean, it's been years, so that.
Man, they have come. If you take a look at so MS SQL's got a lot of the spatial awareness queries and stuff. So I used MS SQL still everywhere, but if you look at the NPG SQL drivers, I think that's what the .NET drivers are called. For Postgres, they do everything and more. They've got like a Noda or NoDaytime driver so that you can use Nodatime with time zones, which SQL Server still doesn't do.
What's the management like of Postgres these days? Like I remember that being annoying back in the day.
It's gotten a lot better. There's so many open source utilities for it now that it's really. I mean, if you're back from the days of MySQL, you had PHP MyAdmin, so they have PG admin, which is the same damn thing. It's night and day.
I mean, nothing can be as bad as Oracle was to administer. So,
yeah, we both have our scars there. To be fair, though, as complicated as Oracle was, it did not die. You could hammer the hell out of that database, and it would not croak. I don't know if it's
it just
changed.
didn't. No, it just didn't like to stay alive on its own. Like, I remember not knowing quite enough about it, and it didn't make it super obvious when you needed to do certain things to keep it from dying. And so,
Well, is anybody still using Oracle?
well, no, I don't know. I mean, they were. So when I
souls
started
died.
working at the school board many, many years ago, actually, when I started working there, they had Oracle on OpenVMS still.
Oh, nice.
That was fun.
Cost them a fortune.
Well, and just like, I'm fresh out of university. I've used, SQL Server, MySQL. I've used them all. But then they're like, this is our setup. And I'm like, what's VMS? and that was a learning experience. So anyway.
Yeah. I don't know if it got better. I haven't touched Oracle thankfully in years.
We moved it over to like Windows, and it was worse there than it was on VMS. And then I finally got them to move off of that and save a bunch of money and use Microsoft instead, and everything was happy.
There you go. Good. See, you didn't get any commission for it though.
No, but I mean, in a way, I kind of did. We all got commission for it because it was saving some taxpayer money.
Oh, there you go. Good for you. Yeah. All right.
Yeah. It was like $50,000 a year or something. It was silly.
Yeah, it's too much money for those. So what other so I have two other tools that I use on Mac, and that is obviously Xcode and Parallels. Like I said, Parallels on my M2 boots Windows faster than my i9. Now my i9 is getting a little older now, but it still has a ton of memory and everything. And the M2 boots Windows in like, it's from start to desktop
and
in 2 seconds. And that's not an exaggeration.
I don't get the difference either, because like it seems like 86 based things for Windows, just there's something more that I don't know what it is. It just, they don't boot fast. Like even my AMD almost boots slower than my last AMD did. And there's some like whole like hardware check stuff, not even like the stuff you can disable in the BIOS. Like there's like fast boot you can do, right?
Yep.
But with all that on, it's still like I don't know if it's like memory, validation. There's something weird it does, and it just takes longer than it feels like it should to boot, especially like you're saying, compared to Parallels where the thing's just like done.
Of course, now as I talk, it's taking forever to boot. I just was going to be like, hey, I just clicked the button and started.
And it's done.
And now it's like, hey, logging in is taking forever today. Don't know why. Whatever. Maybe it's the fact that, I don't have Teams on.
You're putting it on the spot.
Yeah, see, you never do tech demos live, right?
That's right.
Yeah, okay, well, lesson learned.
And yeah, like Xcode, I mean, you got to have it there.
Yes.
You just
do.
You
do.
You don't have to open it that often, but.
But if you, and it just booted in the background. I heard it on my mic. Obviously login was taking something, choking on my internet or something, who knows? Okay, so we often do talk about libraries. I was going to save that one to last because I feel like we can zip through that. We focused a lot on that. So let's talk about the soft tools as a brief intermission here.
As I take a sip.
Segue. Yeah, because John is what I refer to as a coffee snob, a huge one. Now I drink swill. I get it. I drink a Keurig, blah, blah, blah. And John's been trying to convince me. Yeah, John's been trying to convince me to get this Chemex thing. The other day I made it. I frequently make jokes about it, right? How long the spout is on his teapot. The water has to come from unicorn pee, and the leather on the jar. What's that jar? What do you call it?
That's the Chemex. The vessel is the Chemex.
Sorry, the what? The
like
vessel?
The pot, the thing that has the wooden cover around it that you're talking about with the leather tie strap.
Made of unicorn leather.
That's right.
It measures the atomic weight of a pubic hair. But sorry, that's not that device.
What's not that device?
The one that pours the rain. It looks like a rain spout.
Sorry. That's one. Yeah.
There's like 4 different devices.
There's Chemex, which is just like the pot, and like arguably, if you're going to use the Chemex like actual pot to brew your coffee in, you're going to use their filters, because that's really where the magic is, and their patents are around like creating their filters that filter better than normal paper filters and all that.
All right.
So that's That's the thing. And then with that, you have a kettle or some way to make water the right temperature, which
And-
is equally, or if not more important.
Oh, okay. All right.
You want
and John's got a spout with about
yeah.
it's
So that's a
like 12
gooseneck
inches
kettle,
long.
and the idea is that helps you achieve the correct pouring rate of water over the beans.
Oh boy.
Yeah.
Okay.
And that's an easy way to brew your coffee and have good coffee, not horrible flavored water that you drink.
All right. It's cost a fortune because I remember John was like, you don't grind beans like for the week, do you? And I was like, well, sometimes. It's like you do it at the point you're going to make it.
Well, and no,
Well,
and worse. That's
and
not
you
even
did put
your
it in
worst
a Black and
offense.
Decker thing, did you?
Yeah, because
And I was
you're
like,
like, oh, I
yeah,
have
it's
a
a bean
grinder.
grinder.
It has like little blades that spin around on it. That's actually a spice grinder. They sell them
No,
as coffee grinder. No,
Okay,
it's
well,
not.
It's a coffee grinder. It says
It's
coffee
not.
grinder on it, man. What
Yeah,
are you
it
telling me?
says it, but like, it's not. There's a
Okay.
lot of things that say things on them that are not true.
Okay, so it didn't fluff my coffee just the right way. Is that what you're telling me?
So the problem is when you're gonna grind your coffee beans, if you're using these little blades, it's doing it by like friction, and it's going to add heat, and it's going to impart a different flavor on the coffee beans that tastes bad, which is going to be more burnt and stuff because you're adding this friction method of like pulverizing the beans.
So what am I supposed to just bash them with, like put them on flat out on the table and like start headbutting them, or what?
That's
what I do?
one way to do it.
All right,
I
all right.
prefer the way that everybody else prefers who likes any reasonably good coffee, which is to get a style of grinder called a burr grinder. And a burr grinder is more about crushing the beans. It's not whipping blades around to try and slice them up. It's crushing them so it doesn't add any heat to the process. Or obviously there's going to be some, that's just physics, but it's not the same by any means. And you get more, if you have a good burr grinder, you get a more consistent size of grind to your beans that goes through, which helps have a better extraction of the coffee when you're brewing and all that stuff.
So this is what John refers to as a soft tool for development, which I agree. A lot of us need coffee. I'm old. I want my coffee in the morning. How long does it take you to make it? Don't bullshit me, because I already know you've been over this several times.
I timed it the other day for you, and it was
Okay.
not long. I don't remember offhand.
It's not mine. Okay.
I have a problem right now, which is I bought a really nice kettle. It's a Fellow Stag. It's a weird name for it. I don't know why, but you can dial the temperature into within 1 degree of what you want it to be. And it heats the water up nicely. It's got the gooseneck and everything. I bought it just under a year ago, and the thing died the other day. It just won't heat the water anymore. So
Okay.
so I'm kind of I thought it was past a year, so I'm already like, okay, I think this thing's out of warranty. I'm gonna get screwed by this. I think it's still under warranty. I'm still waiting to hear back from them. But then I started going, okay, like, what do I want my replacement to be? I don't want to buy another one of these kettles that's died on me in less than a year and is like, it wasn't cheap. It was a couple $100 plus, I think. And so I started looking at some of the options that I had told you. So when you talked about the Chemex thing, the thing that drips down, Chemex has
shower. The shower is what I call it.
Yeah, they call it the automatic, and it basically simulates the pour over part for you. So you put the water in the thing, it heats up for you, and it brews it. And it's not that dissimilar to like a drip coffee maker. Obviously, it's the same principle. It's doing the same thing. It's just trying to do it with like a little bit more style of how you would do it manually.
Well, style is one way of putting it.
Yeah.
Yep. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So how long does it take end to end from the point you start?
What did I say?
Crushing your well, at one point you gave me a good answer and you said 15 minutes.
No, it wasn't that long.
Hey man, it was from the horse's mouth. I'm telling you.
I gotta find it.
All right. Well, you do a time.
Yeah.
Mine takes about 30 seconds. I press the button.
Yeah.
The water heats up. It's not bad. But I also I put some cream and I put a little bit of sugar, which apparently is also filth in the mind of the coffee snob.
Yeah.
So.
Well, the thing is, so I converted my wife to drink black coffee because when you drink bad coffee, you want those things to, counteract the bad taste. But if you have a really good cup of coffee, most people can, get to a point pretty quickly if they have that they don't really want or need the sugar. And sure, certainly not the sugar, but maybe some people still like a touch of cream or milk in it. But
All right. Well, you did say you were going to try and convert me, but then you offered to make my coffee a different way the other night when I started making fun of how you make your coffee.
yeah.
But
So
if
I
you want me
mean,
to convert, let's see. Maybe I can
you
go.
just gotta have a good cup of coffee. I
All
can't
right.
find the timing, but I think if I have to think about it, it's probably by the time from very start to very end, maybe 6-7 minutes tops.
Mm,
And that's like doing part that's including waiting on parts like for the water kettle to heat up and boil, where I'm not like just standing
well,
there waiting for it.
that counts. That's part of the timing
Yeah,
experience.
I'm just
That
saying,
counts.
like I press the button and then I go do something else, and then when it's ready, I come back to it. The actual like time I spend there doing something is maybe like 3 minutes.
Okay, fine. All right. So I have to try your coffee, I will
Yeah,
admit,
yeah,
but
yeah.
in terms of time, it still sucks. I want to
Well,
press a button, have it grind the beans or sorry,
yeah.
not whatever you call it, the fluttering of the coffee beans or whatever,
No, the
the
grinding. It's
burring,
just
the
that
grinding, yeah, the
your grinder
crushing.
is pulverizing, not grinding. Or maybe that's the other way. Maybe pulverizing is the better way to describe. It's not doing anything nice to those beans. It's
Fair
kind of
enough.
like at that point, just buy pre-ground coffee because, yeah.
Okay, so what's some other soft tools? I mean, somebody asked me the other day what I was using for podcasting. So John made me
Okay.
get a Shure microphone,
Mm-hmm.
something M7 thing. And now I have the Rodecaster, but that's my own damn fault.
See, you should have just known that you were going there in the first place, and then you could have gone right to the king of microphones, the Shure. I don't remember the model number, but there's one that like everybody uses. That's the one I bought recently,
I thought
and I'm
this
very
one,
happy with
the
it.
one that I have. So I
It
have a
it's
level
nice.
down.
It's like a step down, but it's
N-
good. It's great.
Now I ended up, so they put a micro USB in this thing, really, because my
Yeah.
condition when I talked to John was like, you got to get one of those boxes and you got to get, my condition was it had to be USB. That was a mistake.
I
I pushed that thing
told
down
you
with
so.
one finger, what, 2 or 3 weeks ago before we did a podcast. And I was like, you know what? I'm going to have to get back to you. So I had bent the cord somehow into the USB mic with one finger. I hardly pushed on that sucker, and that was it. So I couldn't get any other micro USB, not that those are a thing in my house much anymore, to
Yeah.
work. So I'm like, in my rage, and this is John knows that, he was like, you need to go get one of those boxes now. And then I got this Rodecaster Duo, which has
Yeah.
sound effects. It's pretty
You
cool.
go from like the box that will suffice and do well to like the one with every bell and whistle.
And well, that's how I go nuclear. When I'm mad, it's full nuclear.
I do
And
that before I'm mad even.
yeah, John was laughing at me. And then it took us probably half an hour to figure out how to get it to work, because we wanted to do the podcast. So I bought the cables, and sure enough, we couldn't hear things. And it's because there's two analog buttons, two buttons that aren't like they're not software. It's not on the touchscreen, and one of them wasn't pressed. So fantastic. So it took us a half an hour doing this to figure it out. Anyhow, now it's fantastic. Now we get we
Yeah,
figured it out. See, we got sound
as long
effects.
as I don't have there was the one like you still have to not have the user error with it, right? Like the other episode where I didn't realize Windows had maxed out the microphone volume and I sounded super loud.
Well,
And
I don't touch anything now.
no, I didn't either, but it something messed with it on me.
Yeah.
So now every time before I go check.
And then the other day, I bought two things the other day because my microphone stand was driving me nuts. It kept, if you've seen any of our YouTube videos, it's like there's this thing coming out to punch me in the face
Mm-hmm.
at the side, and it would move. It was from my old mic. So I ended up getting like one of these low-rise Elgato things that just stretches across, and I can reach my mouse underneath it. John, you were asking the other day.
Yeah.
It's there now. I can play with the Rodecaster, so that's great. And then I got that, I was told that I was pretty dark and I needed to get a key light, but I found one cooler because I love the RGB stuff. I'm such a kid, right? I was like, this one has RGB and it's a key light. So it's a Logitech Litra LX.
Yeah.
Anyhow, apparently it's got good ratings, so you should look at it.
Yeah, but I just when are you going to use the
games? Don't you dare ask me when the heck am I going to use that?
Yeah.
No experience. You're a flight sim guy. Imagine the sun is off in behind your monitor, lighting up your room.
Because you just are in the plane in VR, so there's no monitor.
Oh yeah, forget it. Like talking to a wall.
Yep.
Trust me, this thing is cool. It's heating me up right now, though. I'm pretty sure I'm going to have a sunburn after, but
nice.
There it is. Nice. It's showing my pasty whiteness. Maybe it'll come out on the camera as I look like a ghost or something. We'll find out.
I have one more soft tool, which I've been using a lot lately, which we've kind of talked about already. I have my standing desk.
Oh, yes. Well, that's most devs, right?
Yeah, I think so. But
you're not standing right now, though.
I'm not right now.
I usually don't either. It's so bad. How often does it go up a day?
Yeah. In the before, not a lot. Like when I first got it years ago, I was like, yeah, this is the best. I use this all the time. And then like you slowly use it less and less and less. And then I broke my tailbone and now I use it a lot.
Yeah. Well,
so it might be enough that I, kind of get back into it and like, okay, I use it now.
Well, I need to get off my fat ass and do like some treadmill or something. Apparently you can get those under your desk, but I don't know. That's a hard sell for me.
I don't. Yeah, I know of several people who have them, and I think they seem to like them. I have a hard time believing that I would be successful at doing two things at once, like walking and maybe on a call. Like that's what I should get it for.
My brain can multitask in terms if I'm still.
Yes.
After that, it's like, oh shit, and I'm going to bail and bash my head off the desk. And, it's not a good thing. It's not a good thing.
Exactly. So, all right.
So that's it for the soft tools.
Yeah.
I think, we've talked about libraries quite a bit. So you don't need to spend a lot of time on it. But it was more a case of what's the stuff you're going to start a net new project. And I'm going to use project because we can go outside of the box a little bit. Like, because a mobile app, what is it without an API?
Mm-hmm.
And we won't talk web. We'll leave web out. John does not do the web.
I do some. I do the Blazor.
Yeah. Okay. All right. But you don't like the web. You should try React. It's pretty interesting.
I have years to go.
The problem is you don't even know what React is anymore. I mean, let's not even go into that.
I've played with it over the years a little bit here and there, but
it's I don't know where the hell it's at. Now you got to be through Next.js and what the hell happened? Anyhow, in its heyday, it was pretty damn jiggy. Anyhow, let's go back. Let's start obviously with the core stuff that we're known for. How do you start a mobile app? What's the? I know you're pretty plain Jane in terms of dependencies, but there's got to be something.
No.
Community toolkit?
Yeah. Actually, you know what? To be fair, you might not use this one, but I've grown fond of it. The MVVM toolkit stuff, whatever that one's called.
Okay. No, I don't use it
like
because
the
I use
style
the reactive UI version of it.
Mm-hmm.
But I know that one's getting a little bit old because as soon as I say that, John cringes because it's got now Fody is good. Fody. It's great. It is, but it's a little bit old now. And it doesn't interact quite nicely with Roslyn.
Yeah, I was going to say, like, I have no problem with Fody, and I have used it years ago, but the fact that, it needs to be updated to work with source generators, all of it. Otherwise, it's just not going to be a good thing.
Well, it does do a couple things still that source generators don't do, like a public, like I just wanted to take that public property. Now I get why source gens don't do this, but take that public property, change it into the fact that here's all the boilerplate underneath it. Right.
Yeah. I mean, that's all fine and good. I think everyone needs to kind of know as a large caveat.
Yes.
Well, that too, but just the like, hey, if you use this, there's a great chance that you can't use C# hot reload now.
Still works, by the way.
Maybe in some cases, like depending what it's actually weaving at the end of it, there's probably a lot of cases that it doesn't.
I use kind it of for MVVM properties. myself. Still works great.
With C# hot reload.
Well, maybe not C# hot reload,
I
but
doubt it.
okay. Well, we'll wait and see. I am trying to evolve that experience in my tool chain right now. Because it there is advantages to source generators. The problem is they're still they can be really bloody hard to run,
Oh yeah.
to code and test.
Yep.
Right. But once they're working, they're pretty good. And once you can figure out some of the magic, we had talked about in a previous episode, the source generator kit
Mm-hmm.
that's out there that kind of deals with some of the stuff. And I'm getting there. I've got source generators in places where it's good, but yeah, they're still tough.
Yeah.
So you're using the MVVM toolkit for
Yes.
commands.
Oh yeah, commands, the property stuff. Yeah, what is it? Observable object, or you can add like observable. What's the thing?
Yeah, it's an observable object.
No, I know, but there's like attributes, and you don't
Yes.
necessarily have to like derive from an observable object. Like that's the recommended thing, but you don't have to, that kind of stuff.
Well, there's a couple other things too that reactive UI does that kind of collides with how I want to use that library too, because I use the when any's, right? So I can iterate properties, watch for changes. So some of the observable object kind of hides a lot of that. Now that's fine for general screens. It's not really a big deal, but when you start getting into big complex mammoths, you really should try reactive. You should. Yes, John. I know. It's good though. I built some big monsters. It works.
Yeah,
But I will agree with you about Fody. It's just I need to upgrade that portion. I need to.
Yeah.
Which is fine.
Yeah.
Okay,
And then there's there's those couple. I find in some apps it's not as common for me, and maybe just because I don't know, I don't build a lot of new apps either. Like the .NET community toolkit, like the Maui stuff, it can be nice. There's some stuff in there.
Do you use anything specific? Because I mean, you did an article on how to not use a pop-up from a plugin.
Well, yeah. So the pop-up there works differently than the intended use case that I wanted. And so it might be that you actually want that version of it, but what I wanted was not that. And that's okay. There's
fair.
different things, right?
Yeah.
They have a lot of type converters, like some of those can be, it's nothing special, but it's like, oh, if I don't have to put that in my own project and it's already in the thing I'm referencing, then great, I'll just use theirs.
I use 2 type converters. 2.
Yeah.
Not
I use lots.
Or inverse boolean. Yeah, that's bad. You know it is.
Yeah.
Inverse boolean and double conversion. Yep. That's it.
Yeah.
And actually, you know what? I lie. There's a time only and a date only.
Okay.
But that's because I'm lazy and I don't want to cast those. And I've started using those in a lot more places. So, all right, I've got 4. But in actual type conversion scenarios. That's it.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it's fine. They have a bunch. Yeah. There's probably not a lot more that I would use in a new app anymore. Like we've talked about. I've got some that are like weirdly specific of how I want to use them, and they're handy, so I like them. I like to do formatted text and stuff. But
so one of the other things is I obviously have a big template, which I still want to know, is it the biggest thing? Is it the biggest .NET new template in the .NET ecosystem? Because there's a lot in it. I want to know. Get the telemetry for me. Come on.
Oh, that's a lot of work.
Yeah, I know. Anyhow, I've been in the Maui community or the Xamarin community for a long time, so I've been accumulating these things. They're like toys.
Mm-hmm.
And I built a big template. Now I have used or will be using all of the things that are in it at some point. So it's almost like, I don't want to make it sound bad. It's just, it's received my blessing. I like it for whatever reason, or I've used it. So there's like 60 plus of them in there. I think, we've talked about them in some of them in one way or another. Obviously it's self-promoting some of my stuff. Even ACR user dialogues. I think that's like one of the first plugins that we had, and it's still in there. People are still using it. I don't even use it anymore, but it's there. So that's something, if you want to check out like a lot of these plugins or libraries that may or may not be used, that's like my official recommended list. Recommendations list. Something to check out anyways.
Yeah, no, that's a good set of them.
Because I'm not going to go through it. Like, obviously, I've written a lot of open source, and I use that everywhere.
Mhm.
But the template is probably the best because it's got the ecosystem worth of stuff that, and there's still more stuff that I've got a few things from Javier, who's on the Maui team, that I
Mhm.
still want to add in. It just, there's so much. There's so much.
Now you
check it out.
mentioned New Orleans or Narlands.
Oh, no. .NET Orleans.
Oh, it's not new. It's just Orleans.
Yeah.
It's just Orleans.
And it's not, what? Did I say it wrong? Did I
No,
not say it the American
if
way?
you ever go down to
Orleans?
to New Orleans, as us foreigners might say it, it's pronounced differently. That's all.
Okay.
That's what I learned.
Well, just like Toronto.
I'm sure I still didn't do it right.
Toronto.
Toronto.
So yes, obviously on the .NET side, if you're doing APIs, ASP.NET Core. I do some mass transit for service bus.
Mhm.
If I'm doing data access, I don't do straight SQL. I'll do Dapper if I'm going to. EF Core is obviously there for ORM stuff. That's just a given. But yes, .NET Orleans
Mhm.
is kind of my new passion. I love that project.
And that's
not
like
really
the
new.
whole actor model, right?
Yeah.
So is that similar to what's the Apache? There's like a Java one.
I'm not sure what you're thinking of.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter.
Yeah.
We only care about .NET, right?
Yeah.
So .NET Orleans, beautiful little tool. It's actually not super new, but I'm finally putting it into practice in a couple places. Fantastic, fantastic, fantastic. Worth checking out. And if you're kind of into a new project, I didn't put it on here. I have my own mediator too.
Mhm.
Is the mediator R without the O. David was making bad American jokes about it recently, so I'll save that for David. It's great for the modular monoliths. Start small, have the functionality built out, and then when you need to break it up into microservices, this will facilitate it quite easily. That's something to check out as well.
Mhm.
That's where I start with server stuff. After that, libraries are a dime a dozen. You mainly get into services like Twilio and all those other things, but that is external to probably what our topic base is today.
Also Akka. That's what I was trying to think of.
Yeah. Oh, and there's a .NET version of that.
Yeah, like a .NET client and everything.
Akka.net.
Yeah.
And the person that runs that is a massive .NET OSS leader, I'd say. Fantastic dude to listen to. I can't get his name off the top of my head. I'm bad, but that's all right.
I haven't really had a great scenario to try any of those out in depth. So maybe that's something that I need to think about.
I can't think of one not for your pool. It'd be hard, right? Because this is meant to be like, if you're using Orleans or Akka, you want the object to live for some time, and there might be some like timers that you're running, right? So if you've got something that needs to happen with that object, in a couple minutes, you can put it right on the object, and it'll run. It'll keep the object alive. So anybody else that's coming into it, it's all thread safetied, right? It's a great little tool, right? And it's meant for running those actors. I don't even know how to describe it. So it's probably something we could do in a later episode.
That would be an interesting one to do. Like
I'm not sure we'd ever do an actor.
I struggle to kind of apply that to any real world situations that I encounter personally, but
I've got two right now, so it's pretty exciting to actually put it into practice.
Yeah.
I don't think we'd ever use an actor style thing in a Maui app.
Not in a Maui app, I wouldn't think.
I'm going to have to think about it.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, my shameless promotion is that now I have a mediator for Maui apps and for Blazor apps, and it's specifically written for apps. So it's something you should go check out, Shiny Mediator. That's my selfless plug.
Yeah. No, I'd imagine like with any of these other things, right? Like the whole use it on mobile or not is always well, how do you have to get there? Like,
yeah.
Do you have to authenticate? Well, that too, but like even just Akka. So if I want to like start or Orleans, if I want to put like some implementation of something in there, like how do I connect back to the whole infrastructure? Do I need like client secrets and stuff in my app? And then it's like, well, you can't do that, so you got to proxy it. there's always a
Yeah.
kind of a question of how that kind of stuff would even work.
Sits
bridging
behind
over to the mobile.
APIs and SignalR and stuff.
Right.
It's completely different. Like Orleans is not out in front. It's your infrastructure in behind.
Yeah.
But in terms of how like its model, like I spin up a new object and everything that news up or calls for that grain as they use, you're going to get that a reference point to that grain.
Mm-hmm.
And you're going to call stuff on that grain, or it's going to notify you. There's like weird notification or stream providers that they have. It's craziness. It's definitely something if you're in the .NET ecosystem, it's definitely something to check out. If you've got kind of a funky use case in your back end of your apps.
Yeah. Well, have we don't, I think, need to pick a plugin package or product this week because I think we've rattled off a ton of them.
Yes.
So they're all those part of
Check out all the things.
podcast. Yeah. There's going to be a lot of links. Are you up for adding that many links to the show? Are we going to remember to?
Yeah,
Sweet.
well,
Great.
No, it's fine. Because like I said, check out the templates, shiny templates. That's got like 60 of them in there. .NET, there's got to be like 16 million templates out there with this stuff now.
Yeah.
So check it out. I'll add the links anyways to a lot of the stuff.
Sounds good. Well, yeah, I guess that'll do it. If you love all of these things, leave us a review on Apple Podcasts. Awesome. And a 5-star review, please, if you will. If for nothing else than the practical coffee advice that you gained from this episode, that would be great. But yeah, you can get to all that information on gonemobile.io, our website. I think that still works. We should check that sometime.
Well, our tweets aren't working. We got to fix that, John.
Well, that's a
John
user problem.
Yeah.
That's an automation fail.
Okay.
Or lack thereof. But yeah, we'll get some of that better, and we'll get that out there and let you know that there's episodes. But the best way to find out that there are is just to go subscribe on your podcast.
There you go.
Thing of choice, right? So go do that. Go leave a review. Send us your feedback if you have any feedback, questions, topic ideas. I wouldn't say we're running out of topics by any means, but we don't have the same huge list of like, oh, we could do this as we once did. So that's something that's always welcomed if you have an idea. And
there are a few topics that are in their queue anyways too. So.
Yeah.
John just doesn't read the notes I leave.
Yeah, that's true. Right. Fair. Thanks all. We'll see you next time on Gone Mobile.